We'll get to the good one in there, but I want to do this one first. So last night, I was going to Chris Hayes' program to talk about Stormy Daniels, right? She's the adult film performer who, I guess it was in 2006, had an affair with Donald Trump. And we know this from an interview that she did in 2011 with Insight magazine or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what it was. And last night, she did some interviews with one of those entertainment shows. I can't remember what it was. And they asked her, did you have an affair with Donald Trump? And apparently all she did was like, just made a face because there's an NDA. And they said, is there an NDA? And she was just like, So there's a whole interview where she won't answer any of the questions that people want to ask her. But apparently the responses. And, I was going to Hayes to talk about that. But last night there was a story that broke in the New York Times that Donald Trump had ordered Robert Mueller fired in June. But for Don McGahn, the White House counsel, who I should say is also a despicable human being. He was bending all sorts of stuff back in the day as he was representing the pest man, hot tub Tom DeLay. But the response from right-wing media has been interesting, to say the least. We will play now one that is not the most interesting, but is fairly interesting. This is Fox and Friends reporting this morning. And here's the thing, man. Like, when you find out it's true, is it really important?
That we've been wearing ever since. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the cover of the New York Times up there in the corner, Ted, this corner over here. There's a big story that apparently the President of the United States last June wanted to fire Robert Mueller because the president felt that he had a bunch of conflicts of interest, could not adequately be the special counsel.
Pause it for 1 second. Now, they can't even get the story right. He didn't want to fire Mueller. He ordered Mueller fired. There's a difference, right? There's a difference. I can want a lot of things, but he took an action to get it done. It's just that everyone around him basically said, we won't do it. We'll quit before we do it.
It's a deep state.
Deep state. Don McGahn.
Right. And so the actual, but the president in Davos, which we're going to bring some of that sound today, he doesn't think the story was all that true, maybe calling it fake. Take a listen to the president.
Did you fire Robert Mueller? Did you want to fire Robert Mueller?
Fake news, folks. Fake news.
What's your message today?
Typical New York Times fake stories.
Did you try and fire Robert Mueller?
So speaking of typical New York Times, you look in the first paragraph.
Now pause it for 1 second. The one problem that these guys have on this Friday morning early is that 10 hours earlier on their own network, Sean Hannity had confirmed it from his own sources. So it's not just the New York Times, but let's let these guys live with that. Continue.
Speaking of typical New York Times, you look in the first paragraph, all of this reporting based on 4 people who are told of the matter.
Right.
It also screams of a leak from the special counsel, because we did know a little bit about this. We heard back in June that there were talks of the president wasn't happy with Bob Mueller. What would he do?
Right.
But some new details that may or may not actually be true.
All right. Well, the president says it's fake news. That happened last June. It's something we have to tell you about because it is a headline in the New York Times. What do you think about that? Do you even care? Something you probably do care about is immigration. And Congress is working on a plan.
Do you even care? We have to tell you because it's a headline in the New York Times. Wow.
Even if it were real, we wouldn't care.
Do you guys think that they sit around and they divvy it up like who's gonna do the heavy lifting today? Like, and she just goes, "I'll do the one like, do you care? I'll do that one." And Ducey's just like, whoa, look at this. And then the other dude, the greaser, says something to the effect of like, I'm going to try and undercut this thing by implying that it's fake news.
I think Hegseth is a student of the Kilmeade School.
Yeah.